Dr. Rima writes and teaches about personal and planetary transformation. She is the co-creator of the 21-day transformative shadow work practice called the Q process. She is also co-author of Who Have You Come Here to Be? 101 Possibilities for Contemplation, a book and a deck card. Rima holds a doctorate in transformational psychology and works with individuals and groups through workshops and private coaching to surface and heal unresolved wounds and shift suboptimal behavior patterns. She also trains and certifies coaches, ministers, and healers to use the 21-day practice with their clients. Dr. Rima.
Thank you. So here were my formal study results. State anxiety is how you're feeling in this exact moment. So the control group is in blue. They actually had a slight increase in their anxiety level, their state anxiety, when they were taking the pretest and when they were taking the post-test. However, the treatment group had a 23.7% drop in how anxious they were feeling at the moment they were taking the test from pre to post. But more interesting than that is trait anxiety, which is typically stable across a lifetime. It's how we perceive ourselves, how anxious we perceive ourselves to be in general. And you can see control group had no movement there. Treatment group had almost 20% drop in how anxious they said they were in general. After just 21 days, they had to do a minimum of 4 worksheets per week. They didn't even have to do all 7. We try to convince people they should do all 7, but rarely did they do all 7. And then in self-compassion, we need practice with self-compassion. Again, we heard from Pittman and others that self-compassion is the one thing that helps to heal the shadow. So suffering, for example, nothing is against us, including suffering. Suffering is a natural, normal part of the human experience. And you can see here that the treatment group had 19% increase was the actual number there in self-compassion. So how about the SQ data? What I did with the SQ data was I took my control group and I had them do a pre and post test and then hand scored it. And the 3 skills I looked at first was awareness of worldview. The top graph is the pre-test, the bottom graph is the post-test. Here's a comparison of the 2 together. The questions I saw that had the most change. I believe that my worldview is the only correct one. That'll pop you right out, right? After going through the workshop and working with the intervention, that had a big change. And then the 2 at level 5 that are behavioral, right? I stay calm and open-hearted even when someone says they disagree with my beliefs. People consider me reassuring and not pushy about my beliefs. Wow, pretty exciting there. Here was quadrant 1, self and self-awareness, awareness of ego and higher self. Again, really big change there. You can see them. It's a little hard to see, but that's combined. Here was, again, where the big changes came. I think there's a difference between the desires of my ego shadow and my higher self. That will pop a lot of people out. And then the other 2 were on level 3. I recognized situations and people that cause my ego or shadow to want to take charge. Got really clear about that using the 21-day process. I'm aware of the signals my body gives me when anger or fear is present. We do a lot of body stuff as well. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, then this one is keeping the higher self in charge. I felt the most excited about this result. And again, you can see I was totally blown away by the change that we saw here for skill 13. And here were where we saw the biggest adjustments. I know when I'm acting on the fear or anger of my ego or shadow self. When I act to fulfill the desires of my ego or shadow, I feel long-term satisfaction, right? That's one that trips people up. Well, of course I do. And then learning, well, no, maybe not. Maybe that's not really what's going to give me long-term satisfaction. And I know how to interrupt my ego shadow thoughts and put my higher self in charge of my thoughts, words, and actions. And that is an outcome that is practiced daily using this worksheet of slowing the process down so that they can see the trigger, name the emotions, look at the shadow quality that is present, and then uncover an unlimiting belief or a shadow belief, move into a place of compassion for oneself, then move into a place of gratitude for the trigger. I'm grateful this trigger happened because it's helping me see that I have this unconscious belief running without my permission all through my life. And then moving from that to what was the unmet need that was present when I was triggered, and what is the quality that I choose. We develop a cue card where they actually create some intention around how to notice their higher self. Which quality from your higher self will support you in this situation? Take a moment to rewrite that in the present tense as though you had been on your cue card or in your higher self. How would that look? That's for the brain. And then take an authentic action that anchors your sense of that higher self quality. Go out and prove it to yourself that that's who you really are. Live the change. Act it and then become it. And then also make sure you're meeting your unmet need for yourself. And then we do a little affirmative process at the end. So the first 2 weeks we're working with the outer critic, and then the second week the inner critic, and then the final week what we're doing is going back into the past to find those moments where those shadow beliefs and messages got put in place in the first place, and we work to undo those complexes. All about unleashing our spiritual superhero out into the world, right? So this is what my passion is in the world, and starting with myself and my own life. Thank you.